All right, let's get right into it. We are looking at the absolute sudden collapse of some incredibly high-stakes peace talks between the United States and Iran. A last-minute pullout has shoved these two nations who were already on edge even closer to a real conflict. So what on earth went so wrong so fast? Let's break it all down.
So first, the massive update you need to know. Iran has officially backed out. They've pulled out of the peace talks that were supposed to happen tomorrow in Pakistan. Just like that. And this one single move, well, it throws the entire diplomatic effort to calm things down into serious, serious jeopardy.
So, yeah, how did we even get here? I mean, just yesterday, it seemed like everything was moving forward. Preparations were in full swing for a second round of these talks. But now, with Iran just walking away, the whole thing is in chaos, and honestly, the risk of a much bigger conflict is higher than it's been in months.
And here it is, the official word. Iran's own state-run news agency put out this really blunt, really unambiguous statement. They're confirming the rejection. And let's be clear, this isn't some delay or a request to reschedule. Nope, this is a hard stop. For now, it really looks like the door to diplomacy has been slammed shut.
Just think about the scene for a second, because this really shows you the mess we're in. The Serena Hotel in Islamabad, it was all prepped. The U.S. representative, JD Vance, was on his way. The host country, Pakistan, had even beefed up its security detail, all for talks that have now just vanished into thin air. And get this isn't the first time this has happened here. The last round of talks at this same spot ended with nothing after 21 straight hours of failed negotiations.
So what caused this whole thing to just implode? Well, the answer is in the Strait of Hormuz. And this isn't just any old body of water. We're talking about a critical choke point for about a fifth of the entire world's oil supply. For days, a very fragile, informal ceasefire here has been basically unraveling, with both sides pointing fingers at each other.
And this right here, this is the core of the problem. You've got the U.S. saying Iran broke the truce by firing on ships, but then Iran fires right back saying, hold on, the U.S. violated the agreement first with its naval blockade, which they see as an act of economic war. It's a classic he said, she said situation, but with global oil supplies and, regional stability just hanging in the balance.
Now, before they officially pulled out, Iran had made their position crystal clear. For them, it was simple. The talks would not happen as long as the U.S. naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz was still in place. I mean, from their point of view, how can you have real negotiations while you're basically under an economic siege? And speaking of that siege, check out this number. $500 million. That's how much Donald Trump claims the blockade is costing Iran per day. It's a clear attempt to use massive economic pain as leverage to try and force Iran to make concessions at the negotiating table.
But that economic pressure, that was just the beginning. Just hours before Iran walked away, Donald Trump went on Truth Social and issued this final, incredibly dramatic ultimatum that just completely blew everything up and raised the stakes to a whole new level. So Trump's post starts out by publicly and very directly accusing Iran of violating the ceasefire. Right away, this sets an incredibly confrontational tone. It takes the dispute out of those quiet back-channel talks and puts it right into a very public, very aggressive blame game. And what followed was, wow, a severe and explicit threat. And notice, he didn't say military sites. He threatened to destroy Iran's civilian infrastructure, power plants, and bridges. We're talking about a move that targets the very foundations of a modern country, and it raises all sorts of serious questions under international law.
Then he made it personal. He used this language that basically screamed he was ready to act right away if Iran didn't do what he wanted. That phrase, my honor to do what has to be done, that was written to leave absolutely no doubt about his intentions.
And he wrapped it all up with this powerful condemnation of the Iranian government itself, calling them a killing machine. Now, that kind of fiery language is great for rallying a political base, sure, but it also leaves pretty much zero room for any kind of diplomatic maneuvering.
So, what was the immediate result of this social media storm? Well, Iran officially pulled out of the talks. It really seems like the very tool Trump might have used to try and force them to the table was actually the thing that pushed them away. And why? Because a public ultimatum like that made it politically impossible for Iran's leaders to be seen as backing down to American threats.
So you really have to ask yourself, what was the strategy here? This tactic of using extreme public threats to try and get a deal, it's had some very mixed results in the past. But in this case, it looks like a spectacular failure. So has this high-stakes gamble totally backfired? And what does this mean for any diplomatic efforts going forward?
Look, the collapse of these talks has left this incredibly dangerous vacuum. The informal ceasefire is for all intents and purposes dead. Diplomacy is on ice. And now you have this direct threat from a former U.S. president just hanging in the air completely unanswered.
I mean, just look at how fast this all happened. A few hours ago, Trump drops his ultimatum online. Now Iran has walked away. And that fragile ceasefire agreement? It's officially set to expire on Wednesday. It feels like both sides are on a collision course.
And that brings us right back to the final, chilling question, taken straight from Trump's own post. The deal is off. The ceasefire is about to expire. So, what happens now? Was this threat a bluff to force a negotiation, or will words turn into action? The whole world is now watching to see if this diplomatic breakdown is about to become a new and potentially devastating conflict.